What's up, ATU, and welcome to ATU Live. I'm Keegan.
I'm Mary.
And I'm Emily, and we are your ATU Live co-hosts.
Thank you all for tuning in today. We have a very special Halloween-themed episode where we have some special guests and some scary stories to tell. But first, Emily is going to tell us what's going on around campus this week.
Well, y'all, we have some really exciting things going on campus this week. First of all, women's volleyball is going to be playing Southern Arkansas in Magnolia this Thursday, October 27th. And this Saturday is Senior Day, Military Appreciation Day, and Band Member Day. The Wonder Boys football team will be playing Southwestern Oklahoma at Thone Stadium. And then Arkansas Tech Theater is going to be performing The Crucible this Thursday, October 27th, Friday, October 28th, and Saturday, October 29th. Showing times for Thursday and Friday are 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., while the showing for Saturday is at 7 p.m. And guess what? I'm in that. So come see me. All right, let's get back.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. And joining us today, we have a super special guest from Public Safety. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Sergeant Crystal Manning, and I've been here about 3.5 years. So I'm a sergeant over patrol, and then I also get to do campus engagement. So I get to do all the events through Public Safety, drunk goggle obstacle courses, the ghost tour, just things like that. So yeah, the ghost tour is fun. So I get to do all of the serious police things, and then I also get to have a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So you're part of, so you mentioned you're part of PSAFE or Public Safety. Do you care to elaborate on what is Public Safety?
Yeah, so Public Safety is basically the police department for our tech community. So the way I like to describe it is how Russellville has a police department for the city of Russellville. We are we're Public Safety, but we're the police department for the university. So we patrol all of campus, and then we also have some areas off campus that we patrol that Arkansas Tech owns. And then we're also an assisting agency, so we help out Russellville or the county if they need us.
All right, so you mentioned kind of having roles on campus and off campus and just in the community in general. So what kind of stuff does Public Safety do? Do you guys give tickets, etc.?
Yeah, so on campus, we're best known for parking tickets. Everybody's got one. Yeah, I had one when I was 19 years old and came to school here, so I think it's a rite of passage. But anyways, so we do that. We take care of all of the policing side, so any kind of citations, we can write you a ticket just like any other officer in the city or the county. And then we also take care of unlocking vehicles. That's probably our most popular service. So if you lock your keys in your car, we can help you out. And then we also jumpstart vehicles. So if you go out to your car and it's been sitting all week and you're ready to go home for the weekend and it won't start, then we'll come and jumpstart your car. You can just call our number. We also can use university discretion. So all that means is let's say you're caught with marijuana in your res hall, we can write you a citation that will go on your record forever, stay there for possession, or we can do the tech side of it and give you a conduct report. And what that does is goes to the conduct team, and then they handle it on the university side. It never touches your record. So that's what we like to do. We like to save you some of the trouble of going on your record, potentially not getting a job in the future. So a lot of times we'll use our university discretion.
So it's just more connected to tech.
Correct.
In a sense. That's cool. So you already mentioned some like similarities and comparisons to you guys and the Russellville Police Department. But what's the difference between PSAFE and the Russellville Police Department? Is it just jurisdiction, or is there other levels to that as well?
Yeah. So we go to the same police academy as any other officer. I went with Russellville officers and the county officer. So we're similar in that way. Again, we can do the police side. The thing that makes us different is they don't have that university discretion that we have. A lot of times if they're on a traffic stop and it's close to campus and they know it's a student or they've told them that they're a student, they will call us because sometimes they want to use that discretion, but they necessarily can't. So we can come and use that university conduct instead of giving somebody a full-on ticket. But we're very similar in a lot of ways, but we're also very, very different.
That's cool.
Okay. I have a quick question. So you mentioned that about the university discretion, not getting a full-on ticket. So like our parking tickets, things like that, speeding tickets on campus, did those go on our permanent record?
If you get a citation for speeding, yes. If you go through the court and try to get it appealed down, you can do that. If you get a parking ticket, no, it doesn't go. It'll stay on your record here with Arkansas Tech. But just real quick on parking citations, if you do get one, you have 3 days to appeal it. You can appeal it through One Tech. You don't have to come to our office. And that's appealed through the Traffic and Parking Committee. It has absolutely nothing to do with public safety. And a lot of people think that we're the ones saying, yes, your ticket is appealed, or no, you have to pay it. But we're actually not the ones doing it. It's made up of your peers of students, and they decide on that kind of stuff.
And then are there any misconceptions about PSAFE that you would like to clear up, anything like that?
Yeah, public safety is known right now as parking safe because of the amounts of citations that are being given out now. So when new students come, I like to tell them, new freshmen coming in, or if I see a school visit, I'll go talk to them. It's just the kind of person I am, but I'll go talk to them and I'll say, okay, you learned your colors in kindergarten. So all you have to do to avoid a ticket here on campus is buy your parking pass at a normal time, print off that temporary one, put it in your window, and then park in the color that you're assigned to, and you will never get a ticket here. So it's super easy, but misconception of public safety is that all we do is sit around and wait for people to park, and then we just jot them a ticket real quick. We actually do so much more than that. The thing that I love about this job, I absolutely love my job, but the thing I love most about it is that I get to connect with students. So if you're having a bad day, or if you are super stressed out and just need somebody to talk to, most of our officers, we have at least one on every shift, we're trained in crisis intervention. So that just means anything from I'm stressed out about this test, or maybe someone's thinking about suicide, we're trained on how to talk to you, how to get you to calm down, and get the resources that you need here on campus. So that's why I love my job, just being able to reach out to people and have a lot of fun.
So beyond just what PSAFE does, is there any like safety tips that you could have for us students on campus, or just in general out in the real world?
Yeah, safety tips would be things like locking your car. If you're out in the parking lot and you have valuables in your car, go ahead and remove those, bring them in. I know sometimes it's a hassle because you're like, well, I'm just going to class the next morning, so and I may not have homework that night, so I'm just going to leave my backpack in my car with my computer and everything in it. Go ahead and remove that and bring it in. We don't have a big problem with people getting into cars here, but it does happen occasionally. So remove your valuables and go ahead and lock your doors. That's just super simple that you can do. If you're walking around campus and you don't feel safe, we have the emergency poles that are on campus. They're about every 10 to 20 feet. You'll see an emergency pole. So if you feel something's not right, somebody might feel like you're being followed or something, you can hit one of those buttons and it calls 911 directly, and then they'll send us to the location of that specific pole. So those are super handy. And then one of our really cool services that I like is if you're at the library, let's say it's finals week and you're there at 2 a.m. and you're ready to come back to your dorm. Let's say you live at M Street and you don't feel comfortable walking at 2 a.m. across campus in the dark. You can call public safety and we can come and do a safety escort, and we will drive you back over to M Street. So it kind of saves the legwork of you walking, and it makes sure that you're safe. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything coming up, any events or anything like that that you would like to talk about while you're here?
Yeah, always watch our social media. I'm also over all of our social media, and so, well, thanks. Thanks. I always like to say that I'm old in the scheme of social media things. So if anybody has any ideas for TikToks or whatever, I'm open to them. But I'm over our social media, so watch our social media because that's where I'll post most of our events and things. We do have a drunk goggle obstacle course coming up. It'll be behind Doc Bryan. So that'll be fun. That'll be posted on our Instagram and then shared to Facebook. Yeah, it's just ATU DPS, so ATU Department of Public Safety. So ATU DPS, that's how it is across anything. Facebook, it's spelled all the way out. But we have that, and then we have our haunted ghost tour that's coming up. It's so much fun. I don't like to be scared or spooked, but I love the ghost tour. So it's a walking tour of campus. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. You will walk a lot, so wear tennis shoes or something comfortable. And then we take you from building to building and tell you all the ghost stories. We have firsthand accounts, and we may have a few little spooky guests that join us every once in a while. So
very interesting. Yeah. We'll definitely have to talk more about that later. But for now, thank you so much, Sergeant Manning, for your knowledge and just talking about PSAFE. Right now, we're going to grab another very special guest that we have on, and we'll be right back. So.
See you in a minute. All right, guys. So we have grabbed our second guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Amy Milliken. I am the Education Coordinator at the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program. We are an agency within the Division of Arkansas Heritage, and I travel the state teaching kids about, in public schools or any kids, homeschool, whatever, about Arkansas's historic structures and Arkansas history.
Awesome. So with it being a Halloween themed episode and already talking with Sergeant Manning about the haunted tour that they're going to be having, do you have any like campus specific ghost stories that you'd like to tell us about or anything spooky like that?
I do. There are a couple of them. I can tell you a little bit about Tucker Coliseum. Now, it's actually not on the National Register. It's not old enough to be considered historic, but it does have a ghost story attached to it. And this one, there are actually, and I think you might have mentioned last year that knowing people, some of the coaches and some of the staff that have heard some of these weird sounds. So it's always really fun when you know someone who's experienced it. So that's always fun. So if you go back to the 1960s and you, a little bit about Arkansas Tech, there was a young man named James Paul Lovelady, JP. And he was from Dover, Arkansas, but he ended up, he was a kind of a basketball protege, you know, and they just knew that he was going to go on to do great things, and he did. He ended up here at Tech, and he was one of the Wonder Boys. I do believe he was here up until his senior year, and many people thought that JP would go on to be a professional basketball player. Unfortunately, JP had gone home and he was in an automobile accident just outside of Dover, and his injuries were very critical. They thought he was going to pull through, but ultimately he did succumb and he died. I believe it was in February. Yes, it was in February that he did. They said that so many people attended his funeral. It was like 800 people, which was more than the population of Dover. A lot of people went to pay their respects. So anyway, so JP, like I said, sadly died. And it was after that weird things started happening in Tucker Coliseum. It was built 15 years later, but many people still claim that it's him haunting the place because it's always things related to basketball. Sam Strassner, yep, he was a longtime employee, and he's always is he? Mm-hmm. I did not realize that he's still an employee.
Yeah,
okay.
he still works here.
Very neat. That's really neat. Okay, so he said that one morning he walked past the trophy case and he found that the men's trophy from the 1980s was neatly disassembled piece by piece. Now, he was the only one who had him and one other employee had a key to the case. But he said recently that one of JP's trophies had been moved towards the back. And so this one had inadvertently, or maybe on purpose, had been put in front of it. And it was shortly after, when he saw that it had been disassembled, it was very much like, it's weird that was even there because it's supposed to be JP's basketball trophy that was in that spot. It was disassembled. I don't know, but it was disassembled and neatly put right around. Yeah, pieces were found. It said the pieces were stacked around the base of the trophy. Like I said, there were 2 doors into the trophy case, but only 2, possibly 3, if you count a janitor, had access to this trophy case. Sam said there was no reasonable explanation. Again, because how do you disassemble a trophy? I don't know. And why? A tennis trophy of all things, right? Right. There's only one person who would benefit.
Yeah, so Sam Strassner is the officer for the university who puts out all the announcements and things, and him and his wife Heather have Jerry. They house. Also, to add to your stories, there have been reports that if you go in the Coliseum, and I've looked and it's true, one seat will be setting down, and the seat changes periodically. And then a few years ago, when I first started here, I was walking in there real late at night. It was probably in the morning, like 2 or 3 o'clock, and it was pitch black in there, and the officer that was training me and I had our flashlights, and we were walking through there, just checking the building, making sure it was locked and all that stuff that we do. And all of a sudden the scoreboard lit up. Like every light on the scoreboard came on. Out of nowhere. Nobody was in there. We got super creeped out, so we left. But yeah, so the scoreboard just lit up for a few minutes and then went off. So we got
They
out of there
say
real
it's
quick.
pitch black. When all the lights out, you can't see your
It is.
hand in front of your face. So it's kind of this eerie, spooky element anyway. But then whenever you have like a random seat that just you'll hear it drop. I've heard that. I've also heard, there was a ghost or accounts of a basketball. They hear a basketball being bounced on the court floor, and they're locking up the building, and they're like, "Who's in here?" And they go to look, and they can't find anybody.
Oh my God.
So quite often there's a basketball
Yeah,
heard.
we used to have like robotics competitions in Tucker Coliseum. And so they would hire different people, sometimes police officers, to come and stay overnight in the building just so nobody comes in there and messes with the robotics stuff. It's expensive. And so somebody was staying in there one night and heard basketballs bouncing when it was pitch black in there. Yeah, and the floor was like covered with robotics stuff. So they can hear basketballs bouncing
You would have to
periodically.
pay me like time and a half.
Yeah, that's
Same.
No money. No.
Right.
I do it for free.
Yep. So that's what we have about Tucker Coliseum.
Awesome.
The other one is Witherspoon Hall. Well, it was actually a few years ago before the pandemic, I did this presentation, and it was a professor who actually informed me that Witherspoon, let me give you the background real quick. So in 1950, Gene Witherspoon took over the band program. 1950.
Tech's old.
Yeah. Dr. Witherspoon introduced, he had a yearly band camp. He created the Arkansas Tech Brass Choir. He added a flag line to the marching band. But while he was, here as an employee, he died suddenly in 1979. Now, that's the information I knew when I gave this presentation, and like I said, 4 years ago. And one of your professors informed me that he actually died in his office at his desk in Witherspoon Hall. So that is always kind of, now, yeah. So, I mean, that's a dedicated teacher right there, die at your desk. So not long after Dr. Witherspoon's death, there were reports that were surfacing about all these really odd happenings that were taking place. Things like students would hear pianos playing late at night. Now, the way I understand it is that there are practice rooms. There's
Yes, ma'am.
practice rooms. So they're, after hearing this, a piano, each and every practice room was checked to see who was in there playing, because they didn't want to lock them up in the building. They never find anybody. It's just a piano playing. Others have reported seeing Dr. Witherspoon in the building. There was one professor who, apparently she was relatively new, a theater professor, and I didn't get her name, but she was doing a read-through of the script that the students were going to be performing that production, and she didn't know what Dr. Witherspoon, didn't know the story about him, didn't know Witherspoon Hall was named after him. And they were doing the read-through, and she saw someone come in and was standing in the back of the auditorium, and she could tell it was, a good-looking, clean-cut guy, and so and then when she looked back up, about 5 minutes later or so, he was gone. Well, then she was apparently there's a huge picture of Dr. Witherspoon. Where did you say that was?
It's in the little,
Is it a teacher area, or is it a lobby?
it's just a lobby area in the
lobby
middle.
area?
Mhm.
Her and another professor were walking through there, and she said, "Oh, that's the gentleman that had come in while we were doing the read-through." And that's whenever she was informed, are you sure that was the gentleman? That was the guy? And she said, yes. And she said, well, that really can't be, because Dr. Witherspoon, that's, who the namesake of this building, and he died years ago. So again, chills, she was just like, she knew for a fact that was him. So, okay, so that's those two. And then, of course, the last one is Caraway Hall, which I know is probably
The more popular.
the more popular building. And it's also a little gruesome and sad, but Gracie kind of takes it to a whole new level, I think, whenever, Gracie.
Gracie.
Have you not heard the story about Gracie? Okay, so Caraway Hall. Do you, by any chance, have you been in Caraway Hall? No. Okay, well, you should go. So Caraway Hall was built in 1934. It was built as a girls' dorm and has remained so throughout its history. This is the site of one of the most famous hauntings on campus. So the Caraway Ghost, or Gracie, Gracie, according to campus folktales, there was a girl named Gracie who was staying in Caraway Hall in the 1950s. She experienced some kind of personal... you know, a lot of sad stuff, I guess. I don't know. So she experienced some kind of personal tragedy. Some say she was having family problems. Others say that she had a broken heart. So one night, Gracie decided that she was going to end it all and she was going to take her own life. But she was not content doing it in a passive, quiet way. She wanted everyone to be aware of her pain. So she decided that she was going to hang herself out the window, above the window that is actually right above the front door of Caraway Hall, which I don't think there was an awning there at that time. Is there one now?
Yes, there's an awning there now.
There's an awning there now, but there wasn't one. So they've actually bricked up that window, but where she was at and how she hung herself, you could not open the door without her feet being pushed aside. She was dangling right there. So yes, like I said, it was the window above the front door of the building, and that whenever she was found, she would be found dangling over that doorway. Now, ever since, she has haunted Caraway Hall. She walks the halls at strange hours of the night. People have reported hearing footsteps, just pitter-patter of feet, yes, going down the hall. Some residents have reported seeing Gracie as well. Now, again, this is another tale because I think I might have brought it up and Officer Manning didn't remember or didn't know of this experience. But there was another girl who apparently was during, finals. She was very stressed out. And apparently she was staring very intently at a wall. And some of her residents in Caraway. And some of the other girls started becoming very alarmed and very, worried for her. She wouldn't respond to anybody. And finally, they went and got the resident assistant, who finally was able, walked over to her and was shaking her and was, asking her what was wrong. And she very matter-of-factly and almost angry just snapped at her. And she said, "I'm talking to Gracie." And then turned back to the wall and continued just to stare at the wall. I've heard that she was escorted away by medical personnel, and so that she could, like I said, be checked, and because she apparently had a breakdown. But yes, that is
Wild.
you've got two kind of stories that go hand in hand.
I am officially spooked. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you want to live there? Do you want to live there now?
You should definitely ask for a transfer.
Anyways,
to Caraway.
That's just
No, no,
that's just few of the many stories that we have heard, rumored, and circulated on campus. So y'all definitely need to go check out the ghost tour. I went last year. I saw the bricked up window. I saw a bunch of other things that I have not forgotten. It is quite the thrill. Definitely recommend going. Is there anything else that y'all have to share or say for this episode?
Well, I've got some stories, but do you want me just to show you? We could go to Let's go to Caraway. So this is Caraway. This is a sorority house, and this is the window that she supposedly hung herself out of, and then they bricked it up. And there's a story of a girl coming out of the door, like she was talking about, and she hit the feet of Gracie, and that's how they discovered her. So, you want to go inside?
Last year, our friend that helps us with our ghost tour was upstairs on the 4th floor. That's where most of the sightings of Gracie have been. And he was standing in the window helping us out. And all of a sudden there was a very loud bang right under him. There's a hot water heater up there, and there was a very loud bang in that hot water heater and freaked him out. He thought somebody did it as a joke, and so they stood there and it happened again. And so our friend that helps us got super creeped out. So 2 years ago when we were filming our ghost tour, we got finished up here at Caraway and we headed to Tucker Coliseum. When we got over to Tucker Coliseum, my tech ID was gone. And I hadn't taken it out of my pocket since we had came into Caraway. So we decided to come back to Caraway. I got access to the building, went upstairs to the 4th floor, started looking around, could not find my ID anywhere. Decided to move a couch that was on the other side of the room. And when I moved the couch, my tech ID was up under the couch on the opposite side of the room than we were filming. So convinced that Gracie somehow got it out of my pocket and threw it under the couch. But we would love to have you at our ghost tour on October 27th at 7 p.m. We'll be taking a tour of campus, telling you all the ghost stories. We've got some firsthand accounts from people that will be joining us and maybe a few little spooky friends to join us. So come on out, October 27th. It starts in the Student Union.
Well, guys, I'm starting to hear some really strange noises. I think it's time to get out of here.
Yeah, tune in next week for closing statements and tips on winter break, and don't forget to go to the tour October 27th. See you guys later. Bye.